Bound by Blood, Book 3 of the Crescent City Wolfpack series, is releasing on October 30th, and in honor of that, I thought that I would read an excerpt for you so you can get a little taste of the chemistry between the characters. Bryce and Alexis first met in Book 1, but Bryce's detective partner Macy made it absolutely clear that Alexis was off limits. Bryce is a human, and he has no idea werewolves exist. In this scene, they're at the alpha werewolf's wedding, and he is just seeing Alexis again after some time has passed. "Excuse me, ma'am, would you care to dance?" Bryce's deep, rumbly voice came from right behind her, and she jumped. Her heart fluttered, and she pressed a hand to her chest as she spun to face him, discreetly running a finger over the top of her dress to be sure nothing had popped out when she'd startled. A quick glance down assured everything was in place. "Do you always sneak up on women like that, trying to shock me into saying yes?" Shrugging one shoulder, he grinned and held out a hand. "Whatever works." His dark suit accentuated his broad shoulders, and he wore a gray shirt with a charcoal tie. Alexis pressed her lips together and glanced at his outstretched arm before looking into his eyes. That was her first mistake. The little brown flecks in his hazel irises seemed to sparkle with his smile, drawing her in and holding her. Mistake number 2 happened when she placed her hand in his and let him lead her to the dance floor. She hadn't thought about it. Her arm acted of its own free will, extending toward his until their palms touched and his fingers closed around hers. By the time she realized what she'd done, Bryce's right hand rested on her hip and his left hand held a firm grip on hers. James caught her gaze as he sauntered toward the dance floor with 2 glasses of whiskey in his hands. He grinned and tossed back one of the shots before taking a sip of the other and winking. What had she gotten herself into? It was a nice wedding. Bryce's voice drew her attention, and she glanced at his lips before looking into his eyes. Mistake number 3. No lips should look that inviting. She swallowed the dryness from her mouth. "Yeah, it was." He chuckled. "I never thought I'd see the day Macy got married." "Why do you say that?" "She never was one to share much about her emotions. I'm glad to see she finally let someone in." He tugged her closer as he eased into a spin. With her face this close to his neck, she couldn't help but take a sniff. He had a masculine, woodsy scent with a hint of citrus that made her mouth water. Damn it, why did he have to smell so good? She cleared her throat. "Funny, she said the same thing about you." "She knows me better than anyone." As the spin slowed, he loosened his grip, putting some much-needed space between them. "It's been a while since I've seen you." "You've seen me every time I've been in town." "You should be in town more often then." He looked into her eyes, and a familiar sensation stirred in her soul. A sense of longing tightened her chest, a feeling that seemed to grow stronger every time she was near this man. The same words coming from her sister would have irritated her, but for some reason, when Bryce suggested she should be around more often, something deep inside her wanted to agree. Snap out of it. She needed to put an end to these stirrings right now. She was done with emotionally unavailable men. Why did she have to keep reminding herself of that? "I'm a busy woman. I stop by when I have time." He nodded. "I respect that." Sure he did. "Do you want to have dinner with me tomorrow night?" So much for respecting her busy life. No, she definitely did not need to have dinner with him. "I'm leaving town tomorrow. I don't know when I'll be back." "How about tonight then?" "We already ate." He pursed his lips as if he were thinking. "How about this? After this shindig is over, we'll go to Café du Monde for a café au lait and maybe split an order of beignets. Will that work?" The man was persistent. She'd give him that. "I prefer my coffee black." He grinned. "Got it. Café without the lait. No problem. We can do that too." Why was she having such a hard time telling him no? Half of her wanted to say to hell with the job she had lined up and stay in New Orleans so she could have that dinner date with Bryce. The other half, the logical half, wanted to turn tail and run out the door right now. She didn't need yet another man's emotional baggage weighing her down, trying to drown her. She'd been there, done that too many times already. Maybe spending some time alone with Bryce would wake her up to the fact that he was no different than any other man she'd tried to save. He was damaged goods, like all the guys she'd fallen for, and that would never change, no matter how hard she tried to fix him. Then she could squelch that nagging message her wolf had been trying to wriggle into her brain since the moment she met him. I do love beignets, but it will be awfully late. He shrugged. I don't mind if you don't. I work nights, so I'm used to it. Not for long, I hear. Macy said you might be getting a promotion. He eased her into another spin, and his masculine scent danced in her senses again. Having coffee with him would also satisfy the half of her that wanted to get to know him better. Well, that half wouldn't be completely satisfied until she'd gotten to know what was beneath his tailored suit, but that would never happen, not if she could help it. Sliding his arm around her waist, he tugged her closer so their hips touched, and against her better judgment, she didn't pull away. He grinned triumphantly, as if he thought he'd broken down one of her walls, but he had no idea who he was dealing with. Her walls were fortified with titanium. Did Macy use the word might? Surely she thinks more highly of me than that. Alexis fought her eye roll. If he kept up the cocky attitude, she'd have no problem telling him goodbye after coffee tonight. I didn't mean to bruise your ego. What were her exact words? She gazed at the ceiling, feigning deep thought. He let out an irritated humph. It takes a lot more than that to hurt my pride. She narrowed her eyes at him. Something told her he wasn't as tough as he pretended to be. She said you were up for a promotion and wouldn't be her partner much longer. His grin returned. That's more like it. I knew she had faith in me. I'm going to be promoted to sergeant. He straightened his spine, inclining his chin like he had no doubt the job was his. A spot as negotiator opened up, so I applied for that too. I want to get into community policing, be present at the area schools, get to know the kids. Hopefully I can save a few lives so no one will have to investigate their deaths later. That's noble of you. And a little bit hot. He shrugged. Being a homicide detective is noble too, but this is what I've always wanted to do, my life's purpose. The song ended, and as she stepped away, Bryce tightened his grip on her hand. The band played a cover of Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are, and he tugged her to his body. One more dance? I love this song. Sure. And there she was, telling him yes again when she should have said no. His muscles were firm beneath the suit, and as he slid his arm tighter around her waist, she leaned into him, allowing herself, at least for the moment, to enjoy the feel of his strong arms wrapped around her. She'd never dated a human before. Maybe Bryce would be different since he wasn't a werewolf. Maybe, without an animal side, No, no, no. She'd made a promise to herself, and she intended to keep it. No more relationships. The song ended, and she stepped away before he could pull her into another inviting embrace. I need to use the restroom. He walked with her to the edge of the dance floor. No problem. I'll find you again before the party ends. She flashed a weak smile, turned on her heel, and strode out of the ballroom, and hopefully out of Bryce's life forever. I hope you enjoyed that little excerpt. If you are interested in reading more, the book releases on October 30th, and I'll put the buy links in the comments. It's going to be available in ebook and in paperback. And if you haven't read books 1 and 2, Werewolves Only and Beneath a Blue Moon, those are available now. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.